it was either climbs or it was sprints. And the sprints were taken all by the same gentleman from the UAE. Well, it also had a team time trial, a little Merck style. Started out stage one, won by EF, Education First, a little hint of things to come. Now, you saw them, too, in the Colombian Nationals, the road race. They won that. I think they won the time trial. And so those guys down there, they were already firing on all cylinders and in their homeland. They got a big race coming. And so EF has at least three Colombians that were in the top 5 there, giving away the results. But anyway, they won the TTT, followed by Deconic Quickstep, Ineos, and Rally. And it was all Merck style. So then stage 2, you had UAE sprinter Milano Benavides of Colombia over Hodeg of Deconic Quickstep, and then Einhorn of Israel Cycling Startup Nation. Note of that, Colin Joyce of Rally was 7th on the day. You're going to see Israel's Startup Nation. They can't hit the win, but they're really knocking at the door on these sprints, from whether it's San Juan, whether it's here. And so they've been doing a really good job in Australia as well. But Rally, good showing by them. Like I said, they were 4th in the team time trial. They were Colin Joyce getting up here in the finishing. Stage 3 was more the same from Milano, UAE winning again, and Israel Startup Nation. Travis McCabe gets 8th place on that. And let's maybe go to some of the highlights that we had for for some of this for down in Colombia on stage 4. First of all, starting off, and we're going to just see a little bit of, it's going to be, you can see from 13K out, this was a climbing stage. So all the teams, it's like, I don't know, last 6K or so is pretty nasty climbing. All the teams, Deconic Quickstep, they're hammering up with 13K to go. No one's out off the front. You've also got Ineos fighting for position here, and we'll end up skipping around on some of this here, but you can just, the riders are full-fledged, and then they hit the climb in Ineos. So you're going to see this over and over. Ineos on the front. They've got Carapaz, 5K to go. Carapaz is on the front. He's drilling it. You've got Bernal. I'm not sure who the other rider is with them. And then you got EF queuing up behind. You had a Deconic Quickstep with Alaphilippe. He was also in the mix. He was looking pretty good as well. But, EF, they pretty strong. Deconic Quickstep, they're not going to have, they had Jungles there. They had Alaphilippe. So you had 2 decent climbers. But, look, any of these early stage races, it's always the case. You don't know exactly who is going best for who and who's really, queued up for it on the early season. 5 to go. You got Carapaz on the front. He's weaving back and forth. He's got Alaphilippe on his wheel. Martinez is behind him. He crosses over, takes Martinez out, spills. Higuita has to curve around. Cavado of actually Higuita makes it. The other cyclist for EF, Cavado, I think his name is. He almost goes down. Those 2 guys end up having to chase, and you got Carapaz on the front here who didn't go down. He just knocked over Martinez. He just keeps the pedal on. You can see here, if you end up watching this replay of the crash, Martinez is kind of going. He looks over to his right, but then, man, Carapaz just takes out his front wheel. Pretty bad there. Okay, 3K to go. You've got Carapaz once again still just drilling it on the front here. Actually, it looks like Bernal is on the front with Carapaz kind of sitting on his wheel. I'm not sure what the plan was here, but then you've got 3 or so EF guys all set up behind. You have some Continental gentlemen in here. Look, Higuita, you should take a look at him, the way he rides. I don't know if it's his setup. Maybe he's just so small, but it kind of looks like he's riding an extra big bike because his handlebars are a little bit up. 2K, you get another Continental rider taking off, and Carapaz ends up just hitting out. And Carapaz takes everyone by storm. Look, this guy won the Giro last year. He's no short shrift on what he can do, but he takes off. And a little bit of weirdness here from EF. You have 3 guys. Cavado is on the front with Martinez in second place, followed by Alaphilippe, and then Higuita, followed by Bernal. And so Bernal's not going to do any chasing of his own teammate. 2K to go. This Carapaz still off the front, and you don't see necessarily a real big concerted effort by EF. Now, I don't know if EF really knows at this point who their outstanding guy is going to be. They end up doing pretty well overall, but they don't really necessarily have a concerted effort as to who the main guy is. The Quivado, he seems to be the lower end of the totem pole for those three of Higuita and Martinez. So he does a little bit of extra work, but still not quite sure who the others are. And look, who ends up saving the day for them here is going to be Alaphilippe. They're inside of K. Carapaz actually has this win, pretty much looks like it's in hand. He's looking pretty solid. And who is going to be chasing him? It ends up being Alaphilippe. Alaphilippe comes up inside the last 150 meters, about 300 meters here. Once again, EF never really concerted an effort to chase, but Alaphilippe, I think he maybe gets ahead of himself as to what his abilities and what other people can do. But here's where you're going to see Higuita. This guy has kind of been, maybe he's the new Valverde on the block. Alaphilippe sprints up, keeps looking back. He can't get rid of Higuita. Bernal's sitting on the wheel too. Alaphilippe comes through, and then Higuita just punches it, takes over, pulls through. Alaphilippe ends up not having anything left, and Bernal actually takes him on the line, with Higuita being able to post up quite nicely for the finish and the stage win on the day for stage number 4. So good for him. He takes that. You got Higuita winning that, Bernal in second place. Alaphilippe, overall, Higuita takes the lead, and he's going to take that. And can he hold that in? Well, they have a pretty good team to hopefully allow him to do so. Okay, so I'm going to set now up some other video here of the last few stages that we had. We had stages 5 and 6 coming into the finish here, and you're going to end up basically seeing the same exact type of thing with the gentlemen here. So you got stage 5, not such the best quality of video. You ended up having a quick step guy off the front. I think it was Urquezi, followed with Bob Jungels. And Jungels, they have just a little bit of a gap coming into the last. But UAE is not going to have it. They just had their Milano guy slaughter everyone in stages, 2 and in stage 3. So he's looking to get back on form, and you're going to have Israel Startup Nation. DeCorner Quickstep obviously is in here. But this Milano guy, he's I don't know if he's the next great. It's hard to tell sometimes with these races that are kind of, we're spread all around the country, all around the world actually, with different spots. And they're coming into the last few bit here, and this Milano guy ends up winning a bunch of stages. But who is he racing against? He's not against Gaviria. He's not against Cavendish, even though Bob Jungels tends to do a lead out here. You got Startup Nation. They're hitting off on the one side, and they come into kind of a weird chicane corner here. Urquezi on the front. And Israel Startup Nation is bumping and grinding. You have Travis McCabe in there. You have some rally. And next thing you know, you got Milano taking the win for UAE, his 3rd stage win of the race. Pretty impressive. He might be the next guy. I need to look maybe a little bit more into him. He might be the next guy that we're going to be looking for Milano Benavides, Hodag, Restrepo, McCabe, Colin Joyce, the 2 guys in the top 10 there, all the way down to Chavez and some of these others that top 40. Higuita, Martinez in second, Cuadro in third, Bernal in fourth. And then you're coming into the last stage 6 of the race, last 3 kilometers. Pretty exciting. You got this. Now look, so Ineos has finally figured out. They're thinking it's going to be Bernal. Okay. So you've got Ineos is leading out for him. You got a few other guys sending their guys up the road. And what you're actually going to see here is Bernal doing a ton of work on the front once Carapaz decides that he is no longer, and these guys are flying. But one thing to kind of really look at this is what is impressive about the Tour of Colombia is just the crowds, the massive crowds up and down all the way up this climb. And even in the last 3K, it's just chaos. I don't remember if you saw last year, the final day was similar, where the crowd was out of control. They couldn't keep them off the barriers. They couldn't keep them out of the road. They took down several riders. At one point, the crowd was all in there. Last 2K, Egan Bernal comes to the fore, and he just decides to light it up. It's Egan Bernal pulling. There's 2 guys still off the front that they're trying to catch, but I don't think they were too concerned with them because there was a little jockeying back and forth before those 2 guys ended up going up the road. They were both Continental riders. And what you end up seeing here is that Bernal just takes the 4, comes past these riders, and he's got 3 riders in tow. You got Higuita, who's at this point the overall leader. You got Martinez, who is the overall second place. Then you have Cavado, who is third place, I believe, going into this point. And then Bernal in fourth place. And he's trying to get rid of any of these guys he can. And they don't really have to do much. It's all a defense here. They just have to basically say, hey, we'll just try to hold on as best we can, and you get rid of us. And damn, Bernal is doing everything he can. I don't know if these guys are climbing in their big ring, but they are flying up this climb. And Bernal is doing everything he can to dislodge them. And Higuita, resplendent in an orange jersey, just sticks on there. And then you've got Martinez and then Cavado in last place. A little more of a struggle. Feel gaps start to open up on him. And then there's another rider, I'm not sure his name, but he was a continental rider as well. Bernal, look, probably one of the, as we've mentioned here, especially with the Tour de France last year, probably one of the best riders, climbers in the world at this point. And he's in his home race. I don't think he came in quite, I think he'd had a wreck previously. I don't know if he was quite to the spot where everyone else was. So now you start having Danny Martinez go up into third place around Cavado, because I think he's a little concerned about him. And Martinez, there's a chance that Bernal could get any of these riders, because he was maybe 20, 30 seconds off of second place or third place. So he was going to do what he could to dump these. Like I said, Bernal, maybe one of the best riders, climbers in the world at this point, but he's got 3 EF riders on his wheel not getting dropped. You don't see that. And I mean, Jonathan Vaughters, he's kind of, I don't know if he's the Oakland A's right now. They're back in their Moneyball days where they're always picking up kind of some people. They're doing the best that they can with what they have. But he has tapped in, and you've got these 3 climbers from Colombia, at least early on in this year, really, really impressive. And Higuita last year, Higuita came in and came up halfway through the season, signed with them, came and did the Tour of California, was able to hang on to Pogacar and up Baldi. And then won a stage also at the Vuelta a España last year for them. So he had a wonderful season, and he's a little guy. If you look at him on this bike, he's not very big. And once again, you'd think here, so Bernal's leading them into the last, few K. It's still, the climb is pitching up. And you have now Cavado has been distanced. You've got Danny Martinez and Higuita just still staying on his wheel. Higuita's a little guy, man. It's a tiny bike he's riding. But you'd think maybe if they had the ability, because do they want to go for the stage win, or do they just want to get the overall win? And, maybe they want to do both. Bernal is doing everything he can to climb onto the podium, and he's still just stretching his lead out as far as, trying to do all the work. He's stretched it out over Cavado, who he's been able to distance a little bit, but he's not been able to actually dump everybody else quite yet. And then you're expecting EF Education First here to, watch out for the riders, and Bernal kicks once again. And at this point, you're going to see Danny Martinez, and you're going to see Higuita. And I don't know if Higuita or Martinez was trying to get, because he was only down, I think, 8 seconds or so off of Higuita. So he was trying to go for the overall. He's also going for the stage win. And in the end, you get Danny Martinez going 1, Higuita going 2, but not enough time to change the overall. And then you get Bernal in third place on the finish for the day. With that, you get an amazing top here for EF Education First. They get first, they get second overall, and I believe they get fourth as well. So Danny Martinez in the stage, Higuita second, Bernal third, Flores, and then Cueto of EF in fourth place there. All the way down, Oscar Sevilla, 14th place. I think he's like 50 years old. Rigoberto Urán, another Colombian, 21st place. And lastly, of the overall, Higuita wins the overall. All right, well, that's the Tour of Colombia. It was very impressive to see, like I said, the crowds, the racing that you had there. And I don't know if it's possible to, at some point, move racing to Colombia just completely. Maybe what we're going to have to do, because the crowds are so amazing, and the spirit is so exciting down there for what you have. that it looks like possibly that's going to be the big boom. Maybe it's going to be to the point where you're going to have, everyone is going to just queue up for Tour of Colombia, and that's going to be, it happened in the 80s. It was a big deal. They had Cape de Colombia with their whole team. At Kelme, there were a bunch of Colombians there. Colombians came in on postal service. I mean, they've been throughout, but they kind of waned their significance in the peloton as it's been. And so it's been pretty exciting. I mean, look at the up and down. You got the sprinter, you've got the climbers, and for EF Education First, it's got to be pretty exciting to see what is happening.